SMT Nation, we back. Nation, you've been, watching my videos, listening to my commentary about Spectrum and all these other related, like, wireless networking, mobile network build issues that we've been seeing. Sometimes it's a situation where carriers have, issues putting up infrastructure and installing radios and antennas, and sometimes it's fiber circuit access, sometimes it's all these other things. Anyways, one of the ongoing issues has been Spectrum. I can see a situation that within just a few short years, the networks across the country, whether it's T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, are going to be squeezed out of their capacity. And that's because all three carriers, Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, are all doing some sort of fixed wireless access. We also have growing usage on mobile users, right, to their handsets, and that's just going to continue to increase. We need more Spectrum, and I've been critical of the FCC in their lack of preparation and planning for the future. Well, it looks like we've got a step in the right direction. I'm really happy about this, and I'm very excited about this. Now we need proper coordination, collaboration, and execution, something that the FCC has not been able to accomplish on its own, but with the NTIA, maybe it's possible. All right, so the story from Telecompetitor is full court press on Spectrum allocation will study 2,700 megahertz of frequency licenses or bandwidth in 5 bands. So I'm super excited about this. I'm going to tell you guys what's going on here. Link for the article in the description. Also, ways to support the channel in the description as well. Okay, so the NTIA announced today that it will coordinate a multi-agency effort to study 2,700 megahertz of spectrum across 5 bands, with the ultimate goal to be making more spectrum available for commercial and government use. Agencies will study several other bands for possible long-term use as well. So for those of you that don't know what Spectrum is, we're not referring to the company that sells home internet. Spectrum is the airwaves that companies use like Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, and Dish to broadcast wireless signals across the country to give you mobile network access and fixed wireless access home internet service, right? So you need Spectrum. It's the lifeblood of networking, and every company could use more. Okay, so over the course of the next 12 to 18 months, the NTIA wants to study these bands. They want to bring the incumbent users in adjacent and current band usage to the table to discuss different types of, rules, power guidelines, spectrum sharing, whatever it may be, right? But I just want to look at it from like T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T, right? What would work for them and how that would have to look and the best case uses for these. So the first one I want to mention here is the first one at the top, lower 3 gigahertz, 3.1 to 3.45 gigahertz, currently in the hands of the DoD, Department of Defense, 350 megahertz of bandwidth. Okay, guys, this is the Goldilocks. This is what the carriers want. How might that look in an auction? Well, it's going to pull a lot of money. All right, this spectrum sits just below the DoD frequency that AT&T, Dish, and T-Mobile have. Right now, the only company operating it and has like radio gear up for it is, I believe, AT&T. T-Mobile's still waiting to do their build on it. I haven't heard of anything from Dish yet, but that's operational. So this would be the neighboring band. All right, I don't know what they would call it. I don't know if they call it N79 or N78. I have no clue what it would be here, but 350 megahertz between 4 carriers. Yeah, I could see the carriers getting involved pretty heavy here. And it's the last of the lower mid-band frequencies. I know it sounds crazy. If you would ask me 10 years ago, what good is 3 gigahertz spectrum? I would have told you, it's not going to help us. We don't, because with these frequencies, you need denser tower grids. You need towers that are closer to each other when you go up higher in frequency. But now with carriers building to that density and adding more tower sites, 3.1 to 3.45, if that's a full power band, I mean, you're going to build it like C-band. You're going to build it like AWS. You're going to build it like PCS, right? The band 2, the band 66 stuff. So this is going to be it. That's the move. The carriers are going to want that like ASAP. All right. And I don't know how they're going to sell it or auction it, 20 megahertz blocks. I don't know. 10 megahertz blocks, probably. I don't know. But I could see Verizon wanting in on that. Right. And they skipped DoD. So I could see them getting in and wanting 100 megahertz of it. And I think that's what they want. They're going to want a big channel of this. So carriers are going to want at least 80, maybe 100 megahertz. Does T-Mobile get in on this? Yeah, probably. Maybe to the tune of 40 or 50 megahertz. AT&T is going to want a big chunk of this. Expect AT&T to go big, folks. In this auction for this. Dish will try to play ball, but I don't think they'll be in business. I'll be honest with you guys. At least not the way they're constructed today. All right, let's look at the next band. This is 5 gigahertz, 5030 to 5091, 61 megahertz of spectrum. It says here would require coordination with the Federal Aviation Administration. The FAA is a piece of shit, so that's going to be hell. I don't think carriers are going to want in on this. I really don't. It's also sitting pretty close to unlicensed spectrum in the 5.2 gigahertz. Again, I don't think the power rules there are going to be to the advantage of wireless carriers. I don't think they're going to want it. It's not a lot of bandwidth anyways. It'd be best served going to one company and them getting a little bit extra power if possible. Maybe Dish. All right. And they could use that for fixed wireless access or something like that. Maybe the government could throw, Dish a bone and get them going there. All right, next one. This is pretty crazy here. 7125 to 8400 megahertz frequency. So basically 7.1 gigahertz to 8.4 gigahertz. Requires coordination with fixed satellite, mobile satellite, space research, Earth exploration satellite, and meteorological satellite services. Look at the swath of spectrum there, folks. 1,275 megahertz of bandwidth. That's huge. Now, while this offers incredible potential and throughput, the fact that it's being used by all these incumbents, I don't know what type of mess that creates with respect to power levels, but the potential to utilize and leverage these frequencies here for fixed wireless access is incredible. And if you could provide a decent power level to that band, you may not even require outdoor premise equipment. Now, it would help, obviously. In fact, I would recommend, a customer premise equipment. You could put like at least an antenna in a window or mount an antenna outdoors, waterproof, water resistant, whatever. But that's game-changing bandwidth, folks. That's huge, right? 1275. A carrier could walk away with 200 megahertz feeling froggy about their spectrum position, right? 2 separate channels of 100 megahertz. Oh, man, that would be lovely. All right. All right, looking at the next one. That's 18.1 to 18.6. This one is being studied for, it's being expanded for federal and non-federal satellite ops, currently used in fixed satellite service downlink. There's 500 megahertz of it, so that's a lot of bandwidth. It says here, I don't know, it's got a portion of the band that's being used for downlink, maybe the other part for uplink, or maybe it's, uplink and downlink, whatever. I don't know about this, just because satellite operations always make me kind of like a little bit uneasy, just because the frequency. I don't know if that's KA or KU band. Zero cool. If you're in the comments, let me know what type of potential that would be for wireless operators. I'm not sure if that would be the best frequency. It seems it's starting to get a little bit higher, right? But that is a lot of bandwidth, 500 megahertz, and a carrier could walk away with 100 megahertz of that and feel good about themselves, maybe for fixed wireless or even mobility, right? Especially if it gets some decent power. I'm pretty sure that's microwave. I think. I don't know what the definition, like what the cutoff is for microwave, but I'm pretty sure 18 gigahertz puts it in that millimeter wave territory. And the last one here, this one is definitely millimeter wave, 37 gigahertz to 37.6 gigahertz. This one's kind of fuzzy here because carriers have 39 gigahertz today. Verizon builds to it with their millimeter wave from their nodes. AT&T does a little bit with 39 gigahertz. T-Mobile, they play around with some millimeter wave on like five sites in like 7 cities or something. But there's 600 megahertz of it, so it does make it potential to have some throughput. I'd be honest with you, if a carrier wanted this, I'd give them the whole thing. Give them all 600 megahertz of it and tell them fixed wireless access and mobile network data offload, please. I could see this also being useful indoors. I could see that being useful at stadiums, on DAS systems. So, guys, there's basically what I did, right? This whole rundown is me thinking aloud where these things would be useful, right? On a scale, you got 2, 4, you got 5 different spectrum bands being identified here. This one, the first one, the lower 3 gigahertz, that's going to be the primary target of the carriers. I think the second one that's most likely to garner their attention is the 7 gigahertz, the 7.1 to 8.4. I think that would get their attention as well. And then I'd probably throw in the 18.1 to 18.6 having possibly some potential, but really it's the first one and the third one that I think most likely applies. They're probably going to steer away from the 5 gigahertz stuff because of, the low amount of bandwidth and weak power. I think the 18.1 leaves a lot to be desired because of what its incumbent use is. And then millimeter wave, I think most carriers have enough of it and it's hard to build it anyways. So who's getting in line to buy more of that stuff? I don't know. But there are use cases for these things in other industries and other network builders. But that's kind of where I'm at. I think the first and the third item would be the target of Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T. What do you guys think? Do you agree with my take? Do you disagree? Thanks for hanging around and listening and watching the whole video. But comment and tell me what you guys think would be the most likely targets according to these, different frequencies, and give me your thoughts and opinions on it. Love to hear what you have to say on it. You all the voice of the people, the SMT Nation. Let your voice be heard.